morning. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd. It is 8:30 a.m. It is my pleasure to welcome my fellow commissioners, staff, and guests who come to attend our meeting. And thank you to all those who watch this at home who are interested in engaging and learning more about the county. So with that, I will open up to public comment. Is there any public that would like to address the Finance and Physical Resource Committee this morning? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. That will bring us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor, yes. Commissioner Voorhees.
I better hit the button. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I've never asked a question about this area, but I got some questions on the warrants.
So you want to pull item 2B?
B.
All right, so we will pull item, do we have to have a motion to pull an item? Okay, we'll pull item 2B. So all of the items on the consent agenda set 2B. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to item 2B from the consent agenda.
I'll move the
Yes.
motion.
I'll support it.
All right, Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank
your
you,
question.
Madam Chair. So, looking through the record of warrants, these are checks paid out, correct? I get down to $95,000 paid out to the delinquent tax revolving fund. What, the tax revolving fund, why would we be, what's the explanation of
The
that?
treasurer, through the treasurer's office, these are the bonds that the county owes for delinquent tax. So each year, we go to New York and we get the rating agencies to approve those bonds, or to give us the rating, rather, and then we go out and bid those bonds. So this is what this is for. It's a payment for those bonds, only a portion of those.
Very good. If I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
General Agency Fund, that's just the general account,
You're talking about the,
number 701,
I'll have to
11
double check.
million.
I'm assuming that that's just general fund dollars that are going out for various accounts.
And then we got the 800s, or is that all for Drain Commissioner? 51,000 one?
Yes, that's what that is.
That's what that is. If I turn the page over, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I see the same as over there. Okay. All right, my questions are answered.
Well, we'll clarify that for you. for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all those in favor of passing it, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we've gone through the consent agenda and then 2B separately. Let's go to item number 3 from the Administrator's Office. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to the board to accept and appropriate $6.7 million to the 2019-20 Indigent Defense Special Revenue Fund budget, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreements contingent upon administrator and corporate council approval, and approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. In 2013, the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission was created by the state legislature to ensure that the state's public defense system is fair, cost-effective, and constitutional, while simultaneously protecting public safety and accountability. The MIDC created 8 standards that courts and their funding units need to adhere to in creating its indigent defense plan. Plans for standards 1, 2, 3, and 4 were reviewed and approved by the MIDC in 2018 and were implemented by the county in 2019. Approved plan components for continuing the program include, but are not limited to, correctional officers at the jail, a program administrator, requiring attorney training, funds for expert witness and purchase of equipment. Funding for the Indigent Defense Administrator Attorney is included in the proposed budget as recommended by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its August 27, 2019 meeting. The final document will be reviewed and approved by the Administrator and Corporate Counsel prior to signature.
Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for my tardiness. 2 quick questions. First, what is the fiscal year on this?
Craig, you want to come up and answer questions today? Craig Paul has been our point person from the attorney's office, and he can help answer any questions that you might
Good
have.
morning, Commissioners. This runs on the state's fiscal year, so it's a 10/1 through 9/30 period.
So this is, for us old timers, this is kind of the 10-1 budget that we used to do. So this
Correct.
this $2.4 million is already in the budget that you proposed a couple weeks ago, or is that already in our calendar year budget?
It's being proposed in the current year budget.
So this 2.4 is already in what you showed us?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Just making sure, because that's a lot of money.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from the Administrator's Office. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to the board to allocate $2.4 million in Ready by 5 early childhood millage funds for 2019 as recommended by First Steps Kent. The Ready by 5 Allocation Review Committee reviewed all proposals submitted to First Steps Kent. For this initial round of funding, First Steps Kent received a total of 11 proposals. The allocation amounts for outreach and navigation services were recommended by Ready by 5 Allocation Review Committee on July 17, 2019. Recommendations were approved by First Steps Kent Commission on July 25, 2019. The amount of $2.4 million will be allocated to contracts that begin October 2019 and run through December 21, 27 months.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski?
Sure, I'll start off. I don't know how the last of Matthew's memo, the last of that first page, where it alludes to following the procedures of Kent County senior millage. And as you all know, I'm familiar with that as a provider, so I don't talk about senior millage as a county commissioner. That being said, I was surprised then on the next page that we already have a year 2 budget for this, where senior millage you request year after year or 1 year at a time. And then second, that it's the same amount almost from at least 2 are the same, 1 is less, 1 is a little bit more for that second year. And so how does that take into account changes and costs and things like that? So anyways, we'll start there.
Thanks for your question. So this is a new process, right? Because it's new funding. We have a really great model in the senior millage allocation process, but it's also a different service level. So we've gone through primarily the majority of the process the senior millage has utilized with a few small tweaks. So a review committee was established of representatives of the board, our office, and citizens of the county. And First Steps did a great job of reviewing those proposals with them. The board recommended, First Steps approved the recommended funding allocations by the review board. So that's the same thing as what the senior millage does. A slight difference in this process is because we're really geared towards outcomes. We've created a 3-year contract, knowing that the first quarter of this year and next year will be one cycle, and then there'll be another year after that. So that'll get us some more consistency in the funding so that agencies can staff up to the appropriate level to deliver the services. Staff from First Steps will be doing the traditional review of the program and the projects. So if there are issues, they'll be bringing it to the attention and working through that process with the agencies if there's a problem, and coming back to the committee, and just like we do with the senior millage. So the biggest change in this process is that we looked at a little longer funding cycle to make sure we could get staffed up with these original services and have consistency for the agencies. Sorry, it's a little long-winded, but that was trying to provide the rationale.
Yes, Commissioner Voorhees?
That means that this year will be a 27-month, or this April, then we'll go to the yearly appropriate.
I think we'll still, like, when the next home visit RFP is coming out, those will also be probably a 2-year contract so that we can get staffed up also for that 2-year process. And then after that, it'll be, we'll be reviewing those similarly in like 1-year renewals or processes that will have to come through the committee level. So we're working through all that. One thing that we're trying to do slightly different from the senior millage is have agencies have funding to get outcomes that are very specific. So to get those outcomes, we really need a little bit longer trajectory of funding and consistency. So we'll be measuring as we go along. So it's a slightly different model, but it's also very same in that the First Steps representatives, their contract administrators are going out, reviewing the services, making sure that there's consistency, reviewing the files, those kinds of things. So that's where we're at right now.
Yes, Commissioner Voorhees.
I had the privilege to serve on the senior. Will we be seeing who the agencies are providing these services?
Yes, you will. In the memo, we attached Family Futures received a contract, Family Promise received a contract, Health Net of West Michigan. They're on the memo.
Yeah,
Second
I see it on the backside.
Yep. And then the ISD received a contract. And you'll also be seeing those in the future when the next round of contracts comes through.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. This millage was first collected last December, correct?
Correct.
And so I guess it would be nice to see kind of a chart of how much we have and how much of this, like looking at next calendar year. So I assume we're going to be going into a calendar year contract year.
We will be. What we've done, we can give you that,
Yeah.
that document. But we've taken the first year of millage funds and we've rolled those into the next years. And we also did a projection as to what the increased tax revenue would be to try to level that out and smooth the curve. So we wouldn't have a big spike at any one given time.
All right. And then, yeah, and especially because like then the 1.1 million for next year, it'd be good to know what the percentages of total available dollars and the same for 2021 since we're encumbering those dollars.
Right.
In the small edit, senior millage is also focused on outcomes, and you did allude to it, though, that the big difference is if our target is for kids to be ready for school.
Correct.
And we start home visits or outreach and the kid is 2 months old, you don't know for 5 years, as opposed to most senior millage services, you're going to know the outcome relatively quickly, as opposed to years.
Good point. I
So, yeah.
apologize for that.
No,
Yeah.
no need to apologize, just edits and my own long-windedness. Thank you, Matthew.
Commissioner Bukowski, that's your second time, and we are, as we move into budget, and I think overall it's a good thing to follow the standing rules, we are going to stick to the 2 times per commissioner for comments. So if you have anything else, now would be your second time, and now would be a good time to talk.
We'll stay right there.
Okay.
Don't encourage him.
No, it's okay. I mean, the point is, that's time number 2 at the topic, so just making that clear and everybody's on the same page. Commissioner Womack.
Yes, with education being so important, I'm trying to find out what is in place for us to track some of those outcomes and the indicators that is moving in a positive direction, especially with it being millage funds from the public. How are those going to be tracked? And I heard Commissioner Bukowski say it's probably going to be, years before we truly know. But what systems are already set in place for us to do those tracking? And is it going to take some collaboration or cooperation with these different school systems that will be having these children come through those systems?
Yes, collaboration is going to be essential, and we've already actually started that process with the ISD. They have a data warehouse, and our health department's working with us as well, and with First Steps Kent. So informed consent by the participants, work by the agencies to collect the data, transfer to our health department, and then some matching work will be done with the ISD to measure that Ready by 5 outcomes. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have first a comment and then a question. First, this looks great. I'm thankful for the work of the Proposal Review Board, including Commissioner Sparks and Skaggs, as well as First Steps Kent and their work on this. I was looking at the $50,000 grant to Family Promise, and it says it's for outreach and navigation. Since Family Promise is an agency that's focused on ending family homelessness, is its work within its existing clientele? Is it working to, when people come into their agency, connecting them with additional services, or is it specifically tackling family homelessness because it is a determinant to educational and health success?
My understanding is it's really working with family homelessness, primarily with families coming into their agency, but also others. And so that's getting worked on, and we can provide you more detail in terms of what that direct service will be, in terms of how they'll navigate that. But yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Hey, Matthew, I had one. When we look at the organization's name and the funding and the purpose, a lot of these organizations were all formally involved with the mission. My question is the contract specific to reach new individuals that the extra funding would get them to another level? How was that addressed?
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about specifically in the RFP with this would be adding capacity and not just a transfer of capacity from their donor dollars or another grant that they might have gotten from a government entity. This would be expanding capacity. So that was a specific requirement that the committee members looked at. And so to my knowledge, that this is all expansion opportunity to serve more families.
So when the report comes in, I would like to see that baseline, that this was addressed, and actually look at what this impacted, right? That would be a reasonable thing to also gauge as this goes forward.
Stick the note down. I think we can do that, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Sparks?
Madam Chair, I'd like to say I'm really proud of the work that First Kent Steps, you know what I'm saying, that they took. They did a wonderful, amazing job. It was not easy, the task, but I think that we came to a good consensus. And I think what you will find is that when we decided to fund the organizations, we're focusing on true navigation and having more of a hub instead of everyone separating and doing the same thing instead of duplication. We're trying to make sure that those funds go into navigation, and then they're able to do the work that they need to do, so that that second round of funding goes to the organizations that are actually doing the work. So some of those organizations came and tried to be part of navigation, but what I'm proud of is the parents and the individuals that were on the team saw that that was not really something that needed to be done at that time, and that navigation came first. So I think you did an amazing job, and I was very proud of the work that they did.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 from the Parks. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to the board to modify the Chief Hazy Cloud Park acquisition purchase price approved on June 27, 2019, from $3.07 million to $3.4 million to accept $647,500 from Kent County Parks Foundation and to appropriate an additional $325,000 to the Chief Hazy Cloud Expansion Capital Improvement Project. On June 27, 2019, the Board of Commissioners approved a resolution number 627-1955 to purchase 145 acres of land adjacent to Chief Hazy Cloud Park for $3.075 million based on a DNR appraisal. A second appraisal was completed that supports an increased purchase price. The revised appraisal is $3.4 million, an increase of $325,000. After completing a review of the appraisal, the DNR has approved the increased valuation. The increased price has required changes to the project funding. Below is a summary of the project partners and their contributions. The DNR Trust Fund has agreed to provide funding for up to 70% of the total acquisition cost, with the DNR cost not to exceed $2.1 million. Ada Township has agreed to providing $300,000 toward the purchase price, with Kent County also providing $300,000, which was approved as a part of the county's 2017 CIP process. The Kent County Parks Foundation has agreed to provide $647,500 toward the purchase price. Purchase of the land is consistent with the goals of the 2019 Kent County Parks Recreational Natural Areas Master Plan. Corporate Counsel will approve all required documents as to form before they are executed.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion, and we'll start with Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a process question here. We had an appraisal,
Correct.
and we were working on that, and that went through the DNR process and our process. And then, did the homeowners request a second appraisal?
Not sure, but
I'm not-
if you can.
So there were two appraisals done in a timing issue. The first one was completed and submitted to the DNR. A second one was in process based on the landowner's request, and then that one came through with the higher amount. So we submitted that one to the DNR as well. They said, yeah, it looks like this has increased in value, so we'll accept that, and that's,
Okay, I was just, it's
yeah.
a process question. That
Yep.
kind of threw me for a loop.
yeah, no, we agree.
We've been adding pieces, you know, to this park for a long time, so.
It's good. It's great to see it come together as it has. Thank you to Ada Township and the Parks Foundation.
Love the collaboration.
Commissioner Wooden?
Believe it or not, my question was Commissioner Morgan's, so thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Antor?
Thank you, Chair. Mine was pretty similar too, but what's the rate of increase on that? It's been, what, about four months? Not even that.
I'd have to do the math.
Yeah, I know, that's why I
Sorry.
asked, because my math skills aren't great, but it just seems like a pretty significant increase over a 3-month period or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think the timing, the appraisal, for the first appraisal was actually done prior, longer than 3 months
Okay.
difference, so
That's the big difference.
I think there's more timing in there.
I'm a little worried about setting a precedent where we're allowing people to kind of game it, maybe. I don't know if it's gaming, but it seems like when we had a price in principle, we should stick with that, but I don't know. Anyhow, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I definitely have those concerns as well following the timing of appraisals, because probably since this appraisal happened, the market has softened some. So, you know, when do we say this is the price? My question, though, is according to the action request, it says that, you know, the price went up $325,000. And so the entirety of the increase is coming from the CIP? Because the listing of those other sources, which is awesome to have the collaboration, however, none of those sources increased but the county's CIP, according to my reading of this memo.
No, actually, I would say that the county price is staying the same and the $300,000 we're contributing. The new funding here is from the Parks Foundation.
Okay.
And that's where the new funding's coming, and that
Okay.
money will be transferred into
Yeah,
the
the
CIP.
CIP hasn't
fund.
changed.
No.
Got it. Okay, cool. So that's how then, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Antor?
Why I'm still stuck on this, but seems like when you're closing on something, property in the real world, you can purchase or pay more for the ability in case the rates come down. You know what I mean? Or in this case, the assessment, you pay a little extra. That way, if it comes down before you close, you get the lower rate. And this seems to be kind of the opposite. And it's just, that make sense to anybody?
What I hear you saying is that sometimes your rates can go down if you pay a little bit more for an option to do it. In this
Correct.
case,
It went-
the price is going up because they delayed the closing, and that's how I hear you saying it. But
Yeah, it just seems counterintuitive the way it works usually in the real world. That's never even an option once you have a contract.
so the part of this is timing. We have to come to the board to get approval for a final sale price, and then we can have the purchase agreement signed by the vendor or the person we're buying the property from. In this case, between the time the board approved the original purchase price and when the purchase agreement was finalized, that's when the second appraisal happened. So you had this timing issue. What I'm learning about these DNR trust funds is there's a lot of strange timing in these, and that we're negotiating and walking through a purchase process from the time we submit a grant opportunity to you for 2+ years, and sometimes these prices change. When we come with you with a request to submit a proposal to the DNR trust fund, we do not have a locked-in price. We have a broker's opinion of what that property value is, and that's what we start working from to build the pro forma. And in this case, the timing got us, and the second appraisal came in, and
Came in higher.
that's what happened. Yeah.
I understand. It's just, it just seemed kind of strange to me. But I didn't know if there's some language we can bake into this process where that maybe would protect us in the future. Linda, I don't know.
Unfortunately, under the DNR Trust Fund grant rules, it has to go through the DNR process first before you get a actual seller's signature on the contract. And the seller in this case was interested in having that second appraisal because it's, if I recall correctly, this thing has been getting through the process for over 2 years. It isn't a short time frame between the first appraisal and the second appraisal. It was really quite a considerable amount of time, in part because if I'm not mixing up the files in my head, the DNR asked us to wait 1 year on this because they had the opportunity to take the trust fund money that particular year and acquire what's known as Ottawa Sands over in Ottawa County, that incredible opportunity that the state had to get that for parkland. So ours was, with knowledge to us, ours was pushed back a little bit in the calendar. This is, that gave us the longer time between the appraisals. We had a seller in this case that is very astute on property values, wanted the second appraisal, but luckily between the seller and the Parks Foundation, the increase in the property value is coming from other than Kent County and other than Ada Township.
If the appraisal would have went down,
Then in all likelihood, the DNR might have lowered their contribution into this buy because they will stick at a certain percentage.
thank you.
Well, Matthew, as a member of the Kent County Parks Foundation Board, I'm glad this could happen. Can you just confirm that went through the board, this?
Sam's worked with the board chair and as part of the talking about this. So I'm confident that there's a donor identified and the board chair is aware of it at the Parks Foundation with Sam, and that they'll be bringing a perfunctory kind of motion because they have a donor identified for the funding that we have in writing, so.
Okay, great.
Just one comment.
Yes?
Sorry. Just strikes me, there's a lot of work that goes into this thing, and a lot of moving parts, and trying to get somebody to close on a deal, it's pretty difficult sometimes. So, I mean, if I was in a seller's position, I definitely want to protect my interest. I get that. But I think, you know, we need to be just aware, when you got dueling appraisals, that could come back and put us in a little worse position than we were previously. But it just strikes me that this is pretty complicated stuff. And if it takes 2 years to close on this, to get all the players aligned, well, that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 6 from the sheriff. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to accept the secondary road patrol grant from the State of Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning, appropriate $411,900 to the 2019-20 SHERF secondary road patrol budget in the special project fund, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The secondary road patrol program began on October 1, 1978, with the passage of Public Act 416 of 1978, and provides supplemental funding for road patrol and accident prevention on secondary roads. This includes making traffic stops and issuing warnings or citations, investigating crashes, assisting motorists, and responding to violations of criminal laws. The Sheriff Department has received secondary patrol, road patrol grant funding annually since 1978. The grant funds, if approved, will pay for a sergeant for 50% of his time or her time, and also for 2 sworn deputies at 100% of their time, including benefits as well as the equipment and operating costs necessary for officers to perform their duties. The general fund will contribute $61,530 towards this program. The grant funds will be used on secondary roads to patrol and monitor traffic violations, investigate crashes, provide emergency assistance, and enforce violations of criminal laws. The grant period is from October 1, 2019 until September 30th, 2020. In the event grant funding is eliminated and decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
So moved. Support.
Okay, motion moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion on this one? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one quick question. The general fund contribution of $61,530, is that to cover the other 50% of the sergeant's time? I'm just curious.
Why don't we have Chuck DeWick, or Undersheriff, maybe he could explain exactly how that works.
You can look at it that way.
Okay.
The total budget's the 450 or whatever it is, and there's $61,000 that's short. But in essence, it allows us the ability to use the sergeant for more than just 416 duties when we say the other half is for the sergeant.
Commissioner Antor.
Morning, Chuck.
Morning.
So we're gonna have 2 new positions?
Not new. We've had this program since its existence. It's actually decreased over the years because the funding levels has decreased. But just like last year, we have 3, the 1 sergeant and 2 depths.
How do you determine where they're gonna be at as far as throughout the county? Which areas do they cover?
So they cover the entire county. It just all depends on what's going on. If there's a crash investigation that they're doing some follow-up work on, or if there's a heavy presence of some accidents or speeding violations, then they'll go and monitor that. So it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 7 for Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous this morning? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to apologize to the rest of the committee for my tardiness. Google Maps told me that Division was closed, but Monroe was open, and as I go down Monroe and see roadblocks, I muttered a word that I'm not going to repeat in these chambers, and then crossed over to Division, but that was the reason for my tardiness. I apologize.
Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you, Chair. Speaking of road closing, Wealthy Street will be closed Saturday morning for the annual Easttown Community Street Fair. Most people don't speak of collaboration. It actually has 3 county commission districts in Easttown. City of Grand Rapids part is Commissioner Womack and myself, and Easttown actually goes into the city of East Grand Rapids, and that's Commissioner Skaggs' part. So join us on the street, Wealthy and others, on Saturday morning. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I do have one, which is the finance work sessions. It is budget time, which means it's fall. For me, that's more fall than Labor Day, so. Autumn. We'll go with autumn. Autumn's always nice too. But just for those who might be watching at home and want to come and attend the work sessions, it is posted, but it's also Tuesday, September 17th at 7:30, prior to the Finance and Fiscal Resource Committee meeting. Tuesday, October 1st, 7:30, prior to the Finance and Fiscal Resource Committee. This year, we added one that is longer, because in prior years, we discovered as we have a work session prior to this, we have a time cutoff. This allows us a window where we can discuss without anything being rushed. That'll be Tuesday, October 8th, starting at 7:30 with an estimated time frame of ending around 10. And then if necessary, October 15th, also at 7:30. So there should be plenty of opportunity to have dialogue and to learn about the plan for our budget. Again, work sessions are not where decisions are made. Work sessions are information sharing. So I just wanted to leave that on the record. So without anything else, we are adjourned. Our next meeting date is September 17th.